What's good, superstars? Back with another video. You got Superstar Joe, you got Superstar Rob, and you got Superstar Scott Tolleson in the building. How's it going, Scott?
It's going good. What's up, guys?
Pretty good. Pretty good. You?
Just taking the punches.
Taking the beating.
Yeah, guys, if you're new here, do not forget, become a superstar. Smash the subscribe button down below. Hit the bell notification so you know whenever we get great interviews like this one. We're so happy to have Scott on to answer a bunch of your questions. A lot of requests for this interview, so excited to do that. You can also become a superstar VIP, $2.99 a month. Hit the join button underneath the video. Get one of these stars next to your name. We do giveaways every single month, so that'll be a lot of fun. Also, you can follow us on X, follow us on Instagram, and join the Discord. The Discord is full of a bunch of superstars who love all different types of collecting, digital, physical, and all that. So definitely go there if you're into the independent artists and you want to talk about that. We got areas for that in there as well. So, I mean, guys, how are you doing? Rob, how's your day? Scott, thank you so much for coming on. And we hope to have a lot of fun here. Maybe, Rob, show off his socials, his website, and then we'll get to hear from the man.
Yeah, Scott, thanks for joining us. Just everybody watching this right now, make sure you give Scott a follow on X. It's at Mr. Scott Tolleson. You can find him on Twitter here. You also have an art shop as well that you could check out at shop.stole. I guess it's stoleart.com. You guys can maybe zoom in on that there. But Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Thanks for joining us. So the community, I mean, we know that you obviously have been working with the veve team. That's how we were first exposed to you. But the community has evolved, and they've taken your art and they've taken your work in this digital format, and they're starting to try to use that blockchain technology, that verification of ownership, to give utility. And that was the beginning of the Gold Dragon Club. They just gave away to the Marriott d'Île de France over there in Paris. They just gave away a 7-day stay. So we want to know, what are your thoughts on all of this? Like, how do you feel about the community creating utility with your work?
So I think it's great. I mean, full disclosure, I'm not a huge digital collectible collector. But having said that, I recognize the community, and I'm very thankful for the support from the community. And, I just love that, as a mostly toy artist, I love that, that can kind of, it doesn't start and stop with the toy community. Like, it crosses over pretty well. So I'm very thankful for that as well.
Yeah. And you mentioned you're not really big into digital. How did you even get involved then with the digital side? What was the inspiration behind that?
So a friend of mine that passed away last year, Frank Kozik, was very huge into NFTs, as well as working with veve. So I think a lot of it was having discussions with him, and he was very, very positive about the future of digital collectibles in general. So I think he inspired me a little bit to try it, and I did, and like I said, it's been great. I've had such limited, I guess, involvement in it, but everything that I've been involved with, including veve, has been very positive. So I have nothing but kind words to say about all the collectors that I've come across and the veve community in general.
Yeah, I mean, Frank Kozik, obviously a lot of people who love your work also love his work on the app, and he was very forward thinking when it came to this space and utility, and I think breeding and all that stuff that he was coming up with, these ideas, these wild imagination, thoughts that could be possible now that we had digital format. Have you ever thought of different ways to implement utility with your art pieces, be it physical or digital? Like, if you're to prove ownership of something, and then have like maybe some place that they can meet you for maybe a discussion, or have like a live stream with some of your holders. Is that something that you thought about, or what do you think about that type of thing?
I'm open to the possibility. Like I said, mainly being a toy creator / graphic designer, illustrator, all those things, like that's kind of where my focus is. Not to say that I'm always up for the opportunities. I know, just in general, emailing back and forth with David at veve, there's still the wanting to bring more, to work with them, more. And it's just been, honestly, it's just been a trying to figure out what to do and timing of everything. So the possibility is still there, very, very much so. And it's just about finding the right time to release more collectibles.
That's pretty cool. We actually saw another artist, the Illazilla. I can't remember the name, Joe. What are the guys that are?
Illizilla's is the guys there, yeah.
It's the Illazillas. They actually had a VV collectible, but then they decided to branch off and they did their own NFT project separated from VV, and then they provided utility that way. Have you considered branching away from VV and doing your own NFT project like the Illazilla guys, or are you going to stick on the VV platform specifically?
So yeah, I have actually done that. I worked with Decon and Ben over at Decon. I think it was 2 Decons ago. We released a Vincent NFT. I'm not, I did all the artwork for that. It was, again, a great experience. I'm not sure of the success of it or not. Like I said, I don't really keep track of those things, but it was fun to do. So all that Vincent Decon artwork was created by me, except for there were some one-of-ones that were created by individual artists, but they were a take on the Vincent mascot for Decon.
Oh, very cool. I mean, we recently seen another thing that I believe it was Matt Gondek. He did a drop recently with around 900 editions, and if you hit one of the 20 of the secret rare, then they were delivering unique, custom, I guess, one-of-one pieces, physicals, which kind of I like that idea because that's where he got started. He's in the physical realm, and it kind of shows off like his true passion, I guess, where he started. I think maybe something for independent artists, that could become a regular occurrence. It will really bring a lot of attention to the platform and a little more attention to the independent artist section of the VV platform, because I think it had a lot of hype and a lot of excitement behind it. Would that be something that maybe you'd be open to doing, where they tie it to one of your physical items and you can do maybe something a little bit more scarce?
Yeah, I actually thought about that a couple of years ago, because I think for me it's about like how to do it, how to spin it, right? How to do like make it a creative, like something new. So I thought about, even with the Lotus Dragon, the physical release of the Lotus Dragon, I thought about how could you tie, a digital collectible to it. And I know that, like, I think Funko has done that stuff, but I think now, I'm open for the idea, but I think now it's about, I don't want it to seem lazy, right? Like, I don't want it to be just like, oh, here's a toy and it comes with a collectible. Like, I want there to be, some kind of spin on it, something new. So I just haven't thought about what that could be. But it's definitely a possibility, I would say.
I was at a wedding once, and I met an artist. Her job was to create drawings for books, and I actually brought up NFTs to her, and she didn't even want to hear the word. It almost seemed that there was a block, a wall between the physical artists and this whole concept of NFTs on the digital side. What's your opinion on that?
I disagree with it. I mean, like I said, as an artist, like, you want to evolve, right? So I think, like, in every way, like medium, like ideas, like creativity, just evolve. And I think once you get to the point where, you're poo-pooing like any potential evolution in your career or even your creativity, I think that's kind of a bad way to go. So I'm always open to ideas of how to, physically or digitally, like how to progress and move forward. So, I think once you get to that point where you're kind of not trying to learn or just move forward, then that's kind of a dangerous, territory.
It was a major disbenefit, I think, as well, to physical artists, because if you look at, this is a question we actually have for the community about the royalty fees, right? So when you have NFTs, you can set up royalty fees, and that's obviously going to be associated with utilities. If you help the project, if you create an NFT project with art and you provide utility and you provide, community support, you might be incentivized by reoccurring incentives in the royalties, which maybe on the physical side doesn't really, maybe it exists, but not really. Kind of once you sell it, it's kind of done with, right? So somebody actually asked, like, do you receive royalties from these NFTs? And does that help you? Does that help motivate you to provide more and more utility and to continue to hybrid the physical and the digital space?
So Do you mean in terms of veve or just NFTs in general?
The question was specific to veve, but I do mean in general with all of them. Yeah.
So I will say veve is very, very generous with compensation, and also, you know, there's no problem on the back end that I've ever had with veve in terms of that. And then as far as just NFTs go, you know, again, with my limited kind of experience in doing the decon NFT release, that was basically a work for hire situation. So, you know, as far as that goes, I haven't had any issues with it. But as far as compensation goes, it's always been really good and seamless for me.
Cool. No, I mean, those Lotus dragons that you put out, and it's been a while now, because I remember we were covering them on the channel. And one of the big things that stood out was that common variant is very in line with the colors on our hats over here. So first question is, where were the inspiration for the Lotus dragon colors? And then second question is, obviously the Gold Dragon Club, what they're doing there is incredible with the utility that they're providing to the veve fam. When did you become aware of that, and what do you think about that in particular?
So part one, so the inspiration for the Lotus Dragon, you know, I think it's my idea with it is kind of like a Western take on an Eastern, you know, like dragon. So like, long story short, when I was a kid, my grandmother was very much into like collectibles from Asia. So you know, it was like the room that she would rope off when we'd come over. But it had like all kinds of very like, I guess, antiquities of like from Asia. So I thought it was like really cool to see that stuff as a kid. And I think that's sort of where, you know, the inspiration came from, I guess, as a kid. And then, but in terms of, yeah, the design, it was kind of like taking that sort of Asian dragon inspiration and just kind of filtering it through my own personal style. And as far as like the color scheme, my goal is like to have a very contrasting piece in terms of what the sculpt was with what the paint is. So if you look at the sculpt itself, it's very like angry and like, you know, intense, right? And harsh. But then when you look at, when you apply the color scheme, it's very feminine and very like pastel colors and stuff. So I like that contrast with those two, the color scheme being kind of the opposite of what the sculpt is. So that's the original color scheme of it. And it's actually my favorite. And also that kind of color scheme, a lot of my toys kind of has that similar color scheme added to it.
There's just something about that pink and blue that just pops out in a crowd. That's what it just pops out in a crowd. Yeah,
and I think the other thing with that too, with this too, is like the sculpt is so strong. I didn't want the color. I didn't want the color palette to compete with the sculpt itself. So I think a lot of times you can overdo it, right? So being a very detailed sculpt like it is, like if you just went in and like noodled the color and added all kinds of gradients and you know, like overdid it with the color, it would kind of, I think, kill it. So there was kind of that fine line where it's just like, okay, keep the color scheme very simple and don't go wild on it. So
this is done digitally. Do they kind of like create like a model for you? They show you, then you tell them like, you know, change this, then their 3D artist does more, and then it goes back and forth. Is it kind of that process?
No, actually, this 3D sculpt came from me. So this wasn't the veve team that sculpted this. This was provided by me. And so originally this was created in 3D for the physical toy. And David was a fan of the toy release, and that's why he contacted me to do the digital release. And since I already had the 3D sculpt created, there was no reason to have his team recreate it. Right. So they did do the color on all the models, but as far as the sculpt itself, it was already completed.
Very cool. So the gold one, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, they've brought it to the forefront, and it's one of the most profound utility items on the platform. I don't know if you know that. Like, they've been giving away amazing utility. I mean, like Rob mentioned earlier, they gave away 2 1-week stays to Paris earlier on in January. So incredible. If you hold this, also you have to have it listed at a certain amount, which is it's kind of becoming like really high profile. I picked one up a little earlier on, so I'm happy to have it in the collection, and it's one of my most prized possessions. So when did you learn about the Gold Dragon Club? Are you aware of it, and what do you think?
Yeah, that's great. How long has it been? So the Gold Dragon Club, they contacted me. I'm very bad with time. I want to say like a couple of years ago.
Wow.
You know what? Honestly, after COVID, like everything feels like time is so weird, because COVID, like 2020 feels like last year still in a way. So
yeah,
so I don't quote me on that time, but yeah, they contacted me. I think it was Guido and that team. And actually, I had no clue that the club even existed. And then when I found out about it, I was like, well, that's really cool. And so I did an interview with those guys, and they were very happy to like talk to me and everything. And it was a cool experience.
Nice.
So just switching gears here a little bit, can you tell us a little bit about these shards? What are these shards?
So, I've been doing toys for a while now. And this, you can never really figure out like a formula of what's going to be successful and what's not. A lot of what I did early on with toy design and toy production was, it's like experimenting, right? So like I've done toys that I'm like kind of embarrassed of, but at the time I thought they were going to be really cool, right? And then there's been the opposite, which is kind of the shard, where I was like, oh, this is a cool sculpt and a fun little thing, and not knowing where it was going to go, and it just kind of exploded. So I would say it's like, it's a common release that I do now, and they're just resin. They're just resin castings of this sculpt. And like I said, sometimes things just take off, and you don't know why, or and it's just kind of evolved into that.
Yeah, that unicorn shard, Rob, on I think it was the second page there. I'm digging that one. It's sold out. I was looking through it earlier, but
yeah,
that's
these things. Yeah, like so I do have another fan club, and I guess my problem with the shards in general is production. So because they're all hand casted, and like everything's done by hand, like they are, the production runs are fairly small. And when I say small, it's like, under 300 pieces per run. And yeah, when I put them up on the site, they almost sell out instantly. And then, so back to the fan club thing, like a lot of releases are just for them, because like some things I can only get like maybe 50 made, and then a lot of times we offer those to the club members. And there's a lot of colorways of this toy.
So where can people go to join the fan club if they're big fans of your work? What's the best way to get in there?
I would contact me through email. I have a great project manager, Jordan, who's really proactive in the club. He's very good about keeping the club, just alive, and like contests and, games and everything like that. And everyone has a really good time. So yeah, if anyone's interested, contact me. It's like, basically it's like it's a secret fan club, but contact me, and we'll see what we can do.
It sounds like you're already doing the utility thing already with this fan club, with having access to certain drops that only exist if you're part of that. So I mean, you're already partaking in that, obviously, and then on top of that, you have the community doing their own utility for your work. So really cool. This one, I mean, I would love to have one of these. I got to figure out how to find somebody who has one and try and take it off their hands. But
yeah,
it looks like they're one of ones over here. Like they're all different in terms of how the colors are mixed. No two are the same, right? On this one is
correct, and a lot of them are that way. This is one of the rare kind of opaque ones. Like a lot of times they're like, you know, the special effects are all over the place. So, you know, some have swirls. We do like glitter. And, you know, you would think after so many releases, we would run out of ideas, but yeah, I mean, it's crazy how many different color combinations you can come up with.
Yeah.
Just one thing you mentioned to contact you. What's the best way? Is it through the Twitter?
Either I would go through my website.
Perfect. Okay.
So you can go through my website and contact me that way. There should be a little,
contact page right here. Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And we actually had a question from the community asking about your process of creating these toys. Like, let's just say, you know, obviously you somehow ended up with that final product. Like, how do you start it even off? Like, what makes you just say, I'm going to just create this shard, it's going to be pink and blue? Like, what's that process you take from beginning to end? It was a question from the community.
So for the design process of a toy, a lot of times, you know, it's really random. So a lot of times I'll have an idea in my head for a couple years or whatever. And it's like, oh, I really got to do that. I really have to, you know, I really have to design that. I really want to make that. And, you know, I still have tons of ideas that probably will never come to fruition. And then the other side of that is kind of like, you know, I even think for the shard, it was literally, oh, you know, I'd be like sketching and I'd be like, oh, that would be cool. And I would like design it out. And then the next thing you know, I'm like having, you know, I'm sculpting it and then like casting it. So it's really, you know, I find out that the more I overthink things, the worse it is. And a lot of my, what I think are my best toys and best ideas are things that I literally just like sit down, pencil to paper, not really having an end, like an end goal or end game to it. And then like, once it's done, and be like, oh, I really like this design, I'm going to make it a toy. And then it just, you know, so the more organic I think it is, the better the result is. So
there's a lot of new technology that's obviously been chatted about with in the news and all that. One big one is AI. Do you see that? Do you see AI helping your craft move forward, or do you see it as like a deterrent? How do you feel about AI, and do you see that in the art space? What do you think is going to happen? Because there's obviously like Mid-Journey and all these things that are coming up now, and it's getting really difficult to see what's real and what's created by these computers. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you know, I try to be really positive about this stuff. You know, going back to the girl you were talking about that was kind of didn't want to hear about NFTs. Like, I kind of feel the same way about AI. I think it just depends on who, like what, you know, who is doing what with it, right? So I think there are people that can use it for good purposes and, you know, for inspiration, but I can see like the kind of, you know, nefarious side to it too, where it's stealing artwork and IPs from people. You know, it is weird. I was talking to a friend the other day about it, and yeah, it's like what you said, like it's getting to the point where you can't tell what's real and what's not. And you know, it seems like it's happening really quickly too. That's the other thing that's a little surprising to me, because I felt like, you know, you've been talking about AI for years, right? But like how it's like progressing and so quickly, you know, I feel like in like 5 years from now, it's like we don't know what's going to happen with it just because of how quickly it's accelerating. So I just want, you know, again, I want to hopefully like keep my fingers crossed, just stay positive about the way I think about it. And, you know, the stealing from artists and that, like, it's a fine line, right? Because I hate the idea of that, but it is a tool that I think that in the right hands could be a good thing, just like anything else, just like, you know, Photoshop or 3D modeling. So I don't know. That's kind of my thoughts on it right now.
Well, we know that tomorrow actually is going to be the release of the Vision Pro, right? That's going to really, I mean, even though it already existed with Meta, this is going to be, we believe, from the reports, it's going to be an extremely high-end, high-quality AR experience. And I don't know if you ever saw the Disney and Apple advertisement on it, where like you put your arm in the air and a digital product just kind of goes on the arms of the person and is able to interact in that fashion. So how do you think it's going to change your industry? Are you personally looking into, these I know clearly with veve you've done it, but with the Vision Pro and maybe this world becoming more AR, like do you kind of have a plan to take 3D art in the digital space and integrating it with these eventual platforms that are going to, interact with our bodies with these glasses? Like, have you looked into that? Are you preparing now for that? And then how do you think that's going to shape your industry in the future?
I haven't really thought about it in terms of anything other than entertainment at this point. At least for my, how I can incorporate stuff into it. I do think it's, I'm excited to see what it is really about. And if the hype is there, like if it matches up to what it actually is. So I think, before I would, think about how to incorporate, my art or my career into that, like I want to experience it, firsthand. But yeah, I am super curious about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense that you would have to actually live it and experience it before you want to dive all into it. Go ahead, Joe. I thought you were going to jump in there.
No, yeah, just gonna ask him. I know we got your art pulled up here on the side. You've done work physical and digital now. A lot of the physical, I guess that I don't know if the Vincents ever came physical, but the other stuff was physical that went digital. Do you have a favorite piece on the physical, and then maybe on the digital? Do you have a different favorite piece, or would you say there's one piece that you've created that's like you're above and beyond your favorite thing that you've done?
So I would say currently, I mean, I would say the Lotus Dragon. Just probably because it's like one of the more recent ones. I will say that I'm doing a collaboration right now that's in a very similar style to the Lotus Dragons. It's a collaboration with Nickelodeon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That's cool.
So it's all 4 turtles in their kind of samurai gear, and it's very, like I said, it's very similar in aesthetic to the Lotus Dragon. So I'm excited about that release. I think it was showed off at New York Comic Con, the paint sample, and then I also had it at DCon. So if you're interested, you can Google. I think they're up for pre-order right now. It's at culturefly.com.
Rob, can you find that there?
Culturefly.com. Yeah, I can look it up right now. Give me a second here.
If you go to culturefly.com, the first release is RAF. And then the other 3 are planned as well. I think you can buy all 4 as a pre-order, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
Yeah, if you go to,
you might have had it at the bottom there.
At the bottom? Where are we here? These boxes?
Sorry, that box looked like the Lotus.
Oh yeah, they did the top of. No, if you is there a search in there? Maybe you can just type in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Let me see if there's a search in here. We can go shop all maybe. Here we go, and then we'll type in Lotus.
No, I would type in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Let's go teenage.
Yeah.
So we can type in mutant.
Yeah, this company does a lot of apparel. They do the boxes too, and they're recently have jumped into designer toys.
Here's one. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, you can tell right away.
Click the one with the
So you can order all 4. Wow. Those are the digital versions of them. But yeah, this is a project that I actually just completed this week. I helped, with the box art I sent off yesterday. So yeah. That's that one I'm excited to see. Samples are coming soon.
Wow. You can really tell the style too between this and the Lotus Dragons. Like you can see that style, almost translation of that style, but it is clearly a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been a Turtles fan since I was a kid. I mean, I have you know, I'm almost 50, so I have like the original black and white comics from when I was a kid. I still have them in my library right now. So it is a bit of a cool, like a dream come true, like a bucket list thing to be involved with. So
how do you go about getting like permissions for this? Do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you?
No. So this company Culturefly reached out to me about the possibility, you know, of collaborating, and you know, they have all these IPs that you can work under, and
nice.
You know, they even had the Disney license, but you know, I work for Disney, so I was like, well, I don't want to like work. I don't want to jump into that. So you know, turtles are, like I said, I've loved them ever since I was a kid. So it just made sense.
Yeah, that's incredible. And you said you work for Disney, like you work directly for Disney, like for some. Can you speak to what that is? I'm just curious.
Yeah,
what you're doing for them.
Yeah, so I work for entertainment. So our department, we do parades, we do live shows, photo locations, like all kinds of stuff, Disney Cruise Line stuff. So yeah, I'm, you know, art director. So current project, well, I do a lot of Star Wars and Marvel stuff.
Wow. Nice.
So like in the parks, so I can say that much.
That's good.
But yeah, I do that stuff. The you know, the toy stuff I've been doing for a while too. It's just, you know, Disney is great. I've been there for almost 25 years.
Wow.
And then the toy stuff just made sense because I've always been into collecting toys, even as a kid. Like, so I, you know, obviously like I grew up in the 80s. So like we had Turtles, we had He-Man, Transformers and all that. So, you know, I've been a collector forever. And then I want to say it was 2005, maybe it was my first toy release, but it was basically just like an experiment. And then once I did that first release, then I was like, oh, I want to do more and more. So then I just became like an addiction to doing toys. Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people will be excited to hear that you have this other gig that you work on at the same time. I mean, obviously, Disney is acknowledging your creative genius in this regard. I mean, no, very cool to hear that. This Ninja Turtle looks super dope, obviously. So guys, if you're looking, culturefly.com, go check it out if you want to pre-order. I mean, I don't know if you can have only one. I think you would have to have all four at that point.
So I will say, I'll say this about this release that's really kind of making me scratch my head. So the physical Lotus Dragons were they're big, they're huge, and you know, it's like 32 different vinyl pieces all glued and connected together. So, you know, when I did this is in a similar scale, this turtle. And I think they're 125 each or something like that, which is actually not bad at all, considering that I keep doing this because I have the dragons over there. But they, you know, those were like $250, $300 each. And that's just like covering mostly production. So I mean, I was like, I thought they were going to be more expensive, but you know, obviously I don't.
That's cool. So is this something that you have a little bit of freedom with? Like, would this be something you could approach Veve with, this thing here, or like the shards? Is that something you would have opportunity to put out there in the digital format, or is it something that would have to go through obviously Culturefly and all that?
I think Culturefly would have to be involved because it's like a three-way collaboration, right? It's like it's myself, Culturefly, and Nickelodeon. Okay. So they own the design itself. I mean, you know, it's possible. I didn't think about making this. I mean, what do you guys think? Would this make a cool digital collectible?
I think it would look cool next to
absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, maybe I'll talk to those guys and we can figure out how to approach that. It never crossed my mind, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned,
wouldn't you be like first 3D TMNT collectible, even though it's not like directly like just only the turtle, but I mean, it would be the first time I think any 3D format of a turtle would be in digital format. It'd be cool if it would be under your name.
Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be really cool.
This space loves first appearances, right? So this would be perfect. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and then your question about the shards. So I'm currently we just finished what I'm right now. The working title is Shard 2.0. So it is a new design for the shard, and yeah. So I want to experiment with that and see how it goes on in the physical for the physical collectors first. But that's something that I could potentially, make an NFT or a VV collectible as well.
Be cool.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it. I mean, you already made you mentioned before, you got to make the 3D models anyways before you even make it physical. So the work's already done.
It's already done.
At that point, you're just throwing it into the digital space. And again, it doesn't have to be. I mean, you could do it through VD, you could do it independently. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but the hard work, which is the digital, is already done.
Yeah,
so,
and that's what was crazy about the Lotus Dragon is it was so quick. It was like David was like, he's like, hey, I love that. Let's make that. And I go, and I was like, okay, I'll send the 3D file. And he's like, great. And then it's like, it needs to be colored. And then, all the colorways, like it was less than a week. And it's like, I love all those. And it's like, okay, here's the release date. It was so seamless because the 3D model was already done. And, but yeah, it was crazy how quick that happened.
Yeah, this just caught my eye. This pizza man here just caught my eye here. Just slice right over his head.
Himself?
That was a collaboration with my kids. So I have 2 daughters, and they were like, "Oh, I want to make a toy." And I was like, "Okay, what do you want to do?" And then I think it was my oldest drew something similar to this, and I go, "Oh, let's see what we can do. Let's make it." And a funny story about this. So I kind of refined it a little bit and tightened the design up. And so I even gave him shoes. And she goes, why does he have shoes? And I don't know, because, and she's like, he should be barefoot. So then I took the shoes off, and so kids have their crazy vision. So it was a fun collaboration with my kids on that guy.
Nice. Yeah, it put a leprechaun pizza man here with no shoes. I mean, I just caught my eye. It was pretty funny. But definitely consider, if you could, 3D models for sure. It'd be that forward thinking. There's even an animation of them. Like, speaking of AI, there's AI softwares that exist now that can take your 3D model and actually give it a skeleton to move around. But for sure, I think a lot of our viewers specifically, which are mainly digital collectible viewers, they would be very excited about a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Scott Tolleson 3D digital collectible. So I think you should definitely consider that.
I'll talk to the Culture Fly guys. I'm sure that I don't know why they wouldn't be up for it, because it would also get their name in the digital collectible world. So I think the potential issue could be with Nickelodeon, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely bring it up to them.
For sure. And then we got one more question here. We're just approaching 40 minutes. But I do want to squeeze in one more question because it came directly from your community. And this is, your community on Facebook seems highly engaged and vibrant. So could you share more on that dynamic of that group? I guess they're very interested in knowing about another Scott Tolleson community. What's going on with that Facebook group? Can you just speak to that?
Wait, so can you rephrase that? So which collector group about the other?
So this question came from the Gold Dragon Club.
Okay, gotcha. About the Facebook group.
They want to know about the Facebook group, exactly.
Okay. So so the Facebook group. So I think it's been almost 4 years since we did that, and it started off like this really small community, and then became like a word of mouth thing and it's very kind of curated. It's all positive vibes, and it's all it's all everyone's kind of looking out for each other, and it's very positive that way. But I think we have maybe only 150 something members right now. And it is a thing where Jordan who's my project manager, kind of looks at the individuals and, are they good for the club or what? Because there are, just like in any scene, there are people that are there for, either monetary gain or just to like, I don't know, just do bad things in general. So, so I guess if there is interest from the Gold Dragon Club to join, it's mostly like toy related. So there's a lot of collectors, not just of my toys, but of other toys. So there is some crossover there. But if there is interest in that, yeah, I would contact me through the website, and then we can have Jordan look at all the submissions.
Cool. Yeah, because I guess like I told you my story earlier today. Sometimes the physical collectors, they don't get along with the digital collectors, right? So sometimes mixing those two, you don't know what you might get mixing those two. But
we're very good at curating and shutting that down if it happens. So we don't let everyone just kind of go crazy and on each other. So it's good that way.
We appreciate you giving us a bit of your time here today, Scott. Obviously, requested by the community, but also we were very interested in the behind the scenes and a little bit of what you got upcoming. So very cool to learn about that Culture Fly drop that you're doing with Nickelodeon. That's really exciting, and obviously all the stuff we learned about you. So appreciate again you being on and taking the time and answering some of the questions from your fans and from us as well. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
And just to remind everybody, you can follow Scott Tolleson, Mr. Scott Tolleson on Twitter. You can find him here on X. Also go to his website. I just went on Google, typed in Scott Tolleson website. It came up, but it's shop.stoleart.com. If you're interested in the shards, you're interested in anything else. And then that other thing that we talked about, if you're interested in the TMNT Scott Tolleson figure set, you could go on culturefly.com and you can find this here as well. So they're available and they're good to go. So, I mean, usually we send everybody off. I mean, Joe, I don't know how we're going to do it this time. You're going to have to get out of your car or something. But thank you for joining.
I'll make it
wonderful job. Give you a standing O. Joe's going to have to sit there.
Touching the roof, all right?
Yeah, he went as high as he possibly can. Again, we appreciate you coming on. And, of course, we're going to definitely see you around. Stay in touch. And before anybody leaves, if you haven't already, don't forget, become a superstar, smash the subscribe button, join the Superstar fam, hit the bell notification button to get every single video every single day. We do not miss. We're here for you every single day. And also to our VAPs, thank you guys so much for your support. Everyone, take care. Thanks, Scott. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How did that happen?